There's a pair of stories gaining wide traction in trad circles regarding Cardinal Raymond Burke and Bishop Athanasius Schneider, both known for being figures who have been outspoken critics of the revolutionary movement in the current papacy. Let's go over these stories to get to the truth of the matter. A writer on Gloria.tv reports that the nuncio in Washington, D.C. told the American bishops not to invite Cardinal Burke and those like him to events in their dioceses. When his presence is unavoidable, the bishops of the U.S. are told not to participate in his events. The key is that this was an order given orally, meaning there is no written record of this order. The going rumor is that the responsible party is Cardinal Pietro Parolin, the Cardinal Secretary of State for the Vatican. This comes on the heels of Cardinal Burke saying rather bluntly that the Church must stop accommodating herself to the culture of death. The following video is from LifeSite News. Cardinal Burke saying it's diabolical for the Church to accommodate herself to the culture of death.
My reflection is centered upon what I consider practically is a diabolical situation in that we find the world and culture in general in a spiraling decline. We observe around us the attacks on human life, the attack on the integrity of the family, the attack on the freedom of conscience. And at the same time, we find the Church herself seemingly in confusion. A culture which has never more needed to have the Church speak strongly and clearly the truth, which is God's gift to her in our Lord Jesus Christ. And yet, she gives the impression of trying to approach this culture, which is truly a culture of death, and somehow accommodate herself to the culture. This is, in my judgment, is really a diabolical situation, and of course it's all depicted as a kind of a mercifulness on the part of the Church, a kind of expression of the Church's love and concern for mankind, as if we could love our fellow man apart from speaking in the truth and acting according to the truth. This is a situation that has been going on for a long time. Pope St. John Paul II addressed it rather strongly throughout his pontificate, calling for a new evangelization, and it was always very clear that the new evangelization had to do not only with the world around, the Church is going out to the world to bring the gospel, but that the Church had to be evangelized internally again, because in fact the evils of secularism, the evils of relativism had entered into the Church herself, and I think this is quite evident to all of us.
So Cardinal Burke openly challenges the acceptance of sin by the hierarchy, and then is summarily shunned by the American episcopate. Does this really surprise anyone? It shouldn't surprise anyone, because as many of us who attend the Latin Mass have noticed, Mass attendance at the various societies that offer the Mass of the Ages is climbing across the board. Anyone who is active in social media has certainly noticed that across the board, American and Western Catholics of all stripes are asking hard questions of the bishops. Go have a look at the replies to any American, Canadian, or European cardinal or bishop's tweets, and you'll see them getting hammered on the homo heresy and on the problems of modernism. This is why the silencing of traditionally minded bishops who are active is very, very believable. It's sad that the Church is in this position where we have to entertain the notion that the Vatican is silencing those who promote Catholic orthodoxy, but that's the reality of the situation. And that's why this story got so much traction in the last couple of days. From 1 Peter 5. Headline: Tosati, Vatican unofficially restricts Bishop Schneider and Cardinal Burke. It was published on November 7th, 2018. The auxiliary bishop of Astana, formerly Bishop of Karaganda, Kazakhstan, Athanasius Schneider, has received a verbal injunction from the Vatican asking him to reduce the frequency of his foreign trips. This measure was taken last spring. The bishop was informed in April by the nuncio in Kazakhstan, Francis Assisi Chulukat, of this extraordinary restriction on his freedom. Yet another unique aspect of this affair is that Archbishop Schneider only received a verbal notice of this restriction, which was given directly to him by the Secretary of State, Cardinal Pietro Parolin. The nuncio did not give him anything in writing, no document which could serve as the basis for the bishop taking any sort of legal initiative to appeal the matter to the Congregation for Bishops, or the Apostolic Signatura, which, until the advent of Pope Bergoglio, was the court of instance where the lay people, priests and bishops, could make appeal against decisions of ecclesiastical authority, which they believed to be unjust. No reason was given to Archbishop Schneider to explain this extraordinary request, according to persons close to him whom we have contacted. Each time he is planning a foreign trip, he is supposed to inform the nuncio. We do not know if the nuncio has been given the power to refuse to authorize any such foreign travel. As readers of Stylum Curia know, Bishop Athanasius Schneider is one of the most free and frank voices denouncing the deviations and confusion present in the Church today, always in a respectful and filial yet firm manner. It is impossible not to notice the disparity of treatment between Schneider and Cardinal Theodore McCarrick, who, restricted by the sanctions of Benedict XVI, one of which was being forbidden to travel, was sent by Pope Francis to China, the Philippines, and Armenia, and who acted like a personal link of the Pope with Cuba to prepare for the papal visit there. Or also towards Cardinal Maradiaga, chief counselor of the Pope, who, for the sake of his frequent travels, abandoned the diocese of Tegucigalpa, sorry, I can't pronounce that, into the hands of his auxiliary bishop Juan Jose Pineda, his right-hand man who was forced to resign by the open letter sent by dozens of seminarians who accused him of misconduct, and whose recent exploits are described by Religion Confidential. On the other hand, there is no reason to be surprised by these actions, which are a sign of an ever-growing unease with the voices that speak freely under a regime which speaks much about dialogue, but where, in fact, any criticism is feared. And when there is a presence for silent and hidden means of limiting freedom of expression, like the counsel given to the American bishops, always only orally, always by a nuncio, to not invite people like Cardinal Burke to their diocese, and if it is not possible to prevent him coming, not to attend any event which he is present. Now, Bishop Schneider was quick to offer clarification of the story, and which has unsurprisingly not gone that widely reported. It kind of reminds me of when fake news CNN runs a politically charged headline that turns out to be even less true than normal and has to backpedal. And of course, that backpedaling doesn't get nearly as much traction as the original story did. It doesn't get shared as widely on social media as the original story did. From LifeSite News, headline, Bishop Schneider explains Vatican's restriction on his travel. This was published mere hours after the 1 Peter 5 piece was. Kazakhstan, November 7th. For the past several months, rumors have been swirling about why Astana Auxiliary Bishop Athanasius Schneider has been appearing via video instead of in person at conferences hosted by conservative and traditional Catholics. Some Catholics have publicly speculated that he is being punished with a travel ban by the Holy See in an attempt to diminish his influence. Comments to LifeSite today, His Excellency clarifies the situation. I am sad that such news is spreading, Schneider said in reference to an alleged travel ban. I was asked on behalf of the Holy See to reduce the frequency of my travel outside my diocese so that their duration will not exceed the limits indicated by canon law, i.e. 30 days. Therefore, there is no travel ban. Canon 410, which regulates an auxiliary bishop's travel, states the following. Like the diocesan bishop, a coadjutor bishop and an auxiliary bishop are obliged to reside in the diocese. Except for a brief time, they are not to be absent from it other than to fulfill some duty outside the diocese, or for vacation, which is not to exceed 1 month. The 57-year-old bishop, who has served as auxiliary of Astana since 2011, is not under house arrest or restricted in what he can speak about. In August, Bishop Schneider appeared via video at the Conference of Catholic Families in Dublin, as well as the Catholic Identity Conference in West Virginia last week. Given Rome's decision, it would seem that this method of communicating is likely what His Excellency will do for future conferences. Schneider recently told LifeSite that the final document of the 2018 Vatican Youth Synod abounds in expressions of sentimentalism and also demonstrates in key passages that senior hierarchy used the young people to further their own agenda. This appears to be an issue of Bishop Schneider's traveling, brushing up against the limits of what is permissible under canon law. There may have been some political motives for bringing this to his attention, especially considering that, like with the shunning of Cardinal Burke, this was alleged to have been communicated verbally, whereas these kinds of orders being presented in writing is much clearer, avoids ambiguity, and prevents needless rumor-mongering. But, to play devil's advocate, if some of you wonder why Cardinal Sarah often publicly expresses support for the current regime, while also often speaking with a sort of vicious clarity in opposition to the errors of that same regime, the case of Athanasius Schneider and Cardinal Burke may be why. Finally, we're going to revisit the ongoing service of self-sacrifice that Archbishop Vigano is undertaking. This particular story from Church Militant does not involve Vigano himself or new actions or new testimony from the Archbishop. Rather, it concerns a book being published about Vigano. Headline: Rome pressures publisher to restrict book on whistleblower Vigano. This was reported on the 4th of November. On Aldo Maria Valli's new book, The Vigano Case, the dossier which unveiled the Church's greatest internal scandal. An Italian author has just published a volume detailing the work of whistleblower Archbishop Carlo Maria Vigano, but Church officials have pressured the publishing company to restrict future editions, so that as to protect Pope Francis's image and reputation. Okay. At the end of October, renowned Vatican expert Aldo Maria Valli announced the release of his latest book, Il Caso Vigano, Il Dossier che has bunch of Italian. The Vigano Case, the dossier which unveiled the Church's greatest internal scandal. The book is a compilation of all of Valli's articles about the astounding testimonies of former Apostolic Nuncio to the United States and titular Archbishop of Oppiana, Archbishop Vigano. From Vigano's first statement alleging Pope Francis covered up for Cardinal Theodore McCarrick, to Valli's account of his private meetings with the former nuncio, the book is an attempt to document these turbulent events, as described by Vigano, for posterity. The book's introduction is a revised version of the commentary Valli exclusively offered to Church Militant, laying bare his reasons to enter this battle for truth. The only important text missing is Vigano's third testimony, made public on October 19th, also through Valli's blog, one day before the book's official release. Valli is one among several Italian journalists personally contacted by Vigano to help publish his letters, along with Marco Tossati and print newspaper La Verità. Valli remains in contact with the Archbishop and has many times presented Vigano's commentary about his personal struggle to help expose a corrupt power system in the church hierarchy. And I'll let you read the rest of that on the Church Militant website. A link, as always, is in the description below through the blog. Man, I guess people can't have access to troubling information about the ruling regime and its potential crimes. Remember how the final document from the Synod on the Undermining of the Youth included some troubling calls for the creation of a certification system for Catholic media outlets? One of those certificates you will never ever see on any blog or video website or anything that I run, ever. Think on that while looking at the Vatican and trying to stop the publication of a book about the biggest whistleblower in modern church history. And always pray for the church. If you like videos like this, like and share the video and subscribe. And click that notification bell below. You can support my work if you want to through Patreon. A link is found in the description below, along with links to my Twitter, the blog where I keep all my sources, and the Facebook page I manage. For Return to Tradition, I'm Anthony Stein. Ave Maria.